shadows, uncovering the light. Guess we're solid minds, no tales of the strange. In Sasquatch secrets, they'll begin to rearrange. Truth's the vibe, we're on a quest. Look beyond the trees, what do you see? Factual stories redefining history. No myths, no magic, let's break the mold. With every word spoken, the wonders unfold. Footprints in the snow, not just a myth. Data and research, let's sift through the depth. Tales of a creature, but science leads the way. Nikki's quest for knowledge, come join and stay.
And hello, everybody, and welcome to another Sasquatch Secrets. I'm your host, Nikki Cologne. Thanks for being here. We got a great show for you tonight. So glad I see everybody filtering in. Jen, thank you. See if I can put that up real quick. Got to be a member. Thank you so much, Jen. I appreciate that. And in a little while, I'll see if I can get some more members out there, purchase some more member stuff. So thank you. I see everybody. Brian and Chewy, Sandra, Henry May. Good to see you. Danny Staten. Who else do we got? We got Robert Denduven. Good to see you. Who else did I see? Oops, I scrolled too much. Now it's stuck. Okay. Good. Thanks for everybody. Just appreciate you being here. And we've got the show is going to be honoring the late Bill Miller. His work as Bigfoot research and discussing the evolution of Canadian Bigfoot investigations. So with that said, I think it's time, because we haven't done this in a while, but I think I need to put up the signal.
Hi, Nikki.
Hello, Tom. How are you doing?
I'm glad you still have that.
Of course, I could never get rid of that one for sure.
Still got Krakatoa here.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on and talking about your friend. And let's bring on our next guest.
I don't know what I'm smiling about there.
Well, your music intro is so laid back and peaceful. Yeah.
I thought you were going to say so lame. Okay.
Welcome to the show.
Hey, Nikki, thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for coming on and talking about Bill and all the stuff he's contributed to Bigfoot research, investigations. He did a lot. You know, the more and more I was looking into him. Unfortunately, I never got to meet Bill, and he passed back in October of 2020. Far too young for sure. And you know, I know he was missed. I hear a lot of people talk about him and mention his work and his dedication to the subject. So we are going to go into that. I am going to move us around here and put us like this. So for those who have not seen, this is Bill Miller here, and I'll bring that up. he had he passed. I can't remember what he passed from though. It was a fast, wasn't it? Very fast.
No, it was slow, agonizing, and Bill was suffering from health issues for a very long time.
Mm,
He was a cancer survivor. He had
mm-hmm.
a massive survivor of a massive truck accident in which one of his legs was broken in over 20 places. I mean,
wow.
it was incredible what he had to go through. It was complications from a number of things, from operations on his lower back to a pacemaker they put in his heart. Messed up his blood. What he basically died of was blood poisoning.
Oh wow, wow.
Yeah, it was. He was in hospital quite often, quite a few times. One time I remember, to the last year of his life or so, he was over at our place to have a barbecue, and he left through the front door, and there's 5 steps going down from our front door, and there's a driveway right next to it where his vehicle was parked. I timed him. It took him over 3.5 minutes to go down those 5 steps and go another 10, 12 feet or so to get into his vehicle. And that was daily life for him.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, the last time he came up here, he used to come up here every summer. He's an American fellow from Illinois. So he'd go home in the winter and he'd come back to British Columbia in the summer. And the last time I picked him up in the airport, I was mad. I got mad at him because I said, "What are you doing here? You should be at home recovering." But he wanted to come up here and do research and run his little tour business so badly. He just doctor's orders and came anyway. And that, more than anything, I think, contributed to his passing. Yeah.
It was, we were all guilty of being on his case for years about taking better care of his health, or, he's probably not going to be around to enjoy whatever spoils he gets out of it, And he right up to the end, myself and my wife Gwen and Thomas especially, boy, we were bending his ear every chance we got. And, go back to Illinois, man, see the doctors, go into hospital, get yourself on your feet again. Then BC is not going anywhere. We're still going to be here, And he would say, he would tell you what you wanted to hear. He would say, "Yeah, I'm going to do that. Yeah, you make a lot of sense. And I'm going back to the States right now." And then you'd find out he did go to the States. And 3 weeks later, he was back at his trailer in Harrison again. He was like a dog you couldn't get rid of,
Well, he really loved that area, Most of the videos I've seen, they were all, from there near Sasquatch Provincial Park area. And he had what was called the Sasquatch Country Adventures, correct?
Sasquatch Country Adventure Tours, yeah.
Yeah. And I fortunately got to take that tour with Brad Trent. And it was just amazing. A little overgrown and a little face slappy, but it was a neat experience to go up into that area for sure.
It was kind of funny because no one's cleared it in a while. You're talking about the 2-hour tour in a place where it had a stretch that we called Face Slap Alley. And every spring we go up there in the Polaris with a generator on the back and a couple of weed cutters, slowly advance along and try to clear the path for that summer. And we did that every year. And of course, when you and Brad went there, no one had done it for a while. So it was even more than normal.
To me, it seemed like it wasn't a road, and Brad kept saying, "No, the road's there. The road is there. We're gonna be fine," in his big old truck. What does he drive? What is it?
Hummer.
It's Hummer. Humvee. And he's like, "Oh, don't worry about it. The road's there somewhere," and we just plowed right through all that. And matter of fact, on my intro video, there's a spot where I'm in a truck and you see all the bush. That was part of that tour he took me on through Face Slap Alley. And I was covered in bugs when we got through because he had left the sunroof open and they fallen down through the top.
Well, the tours were funny. They were completely, because it's an open vehicle like that Polaris you see in the background there. And everybody would be covered in insects and leaves and twigs.
Yeah.
They loved
crazy.
it.
It's fun. Yeah, definitely fun. Rainbow Falls, correct?
Rainbow Falls, yeah.
Right before we got off the track. And he didn't tell me he was going to veer off to the right, after the falls. So we're going and then right up this hill, straight up and into the bush. And I was like, whoa, does he know what he's doing?
I don't want to die in BC.
And you should have seen that area before. A lot of it burned down a couple of years ago. Yeah, it had to be clear cut because the whole place caught fire. And I was doing one of Bill's tours for him, and I think I saw the idiots that caused that fire by messing around with fireworks. Yeah.
Yeah. We went up. We got to this clearing up there that looked like it was being used for shooting. A shooting area.
Oh yeah, a lot of people go fishing.
Yeah, and he scared me because he had to get out. The truck was running hot. He had to put the hood up, and it was hot in July. It was really, there was a hot spell going on. So we had the air conditioning on, and it just was running his Humvee a little bit hot. And I'm like, oh my God, we are out here nowhere. He knows what he's doing though. And it cooled down, and then we proceeded on our trek. It was more like a 4-hour tour I got that day, but it was great.
Nikki, Brad Trent on more than one occasion has had to hike out from way back.
Oh, don't tell me that.
Yeah. More than one late night phone call saying I'm broke down on such a highway. Can you get somebody to come out and pick me up? Yeah, that wasn't unusual.
Yeah, well, it's pretty far out there. At least I think he let several people know. Well, you knew where we were going and what we were doing. So one person knew if we didn't show up, if I didn't show back up where we were. And but just beautiful. I mean, absolutely beautiful up there. Here's a picture with Bill and you up there on that peak.
Yeah, that's always we used to stop and we set up chairs, and the people who took the tour, we tell them about the history of the Sasquatch and the local site there. And one of the casts we're holding there is from one of Roger Patterson's two heat casts a day he shot the film in '67. And your little picture to the right, that's Bill way up at Bridal Falls in 2008 when we had that incident about 5 kilometers up that road, and where he's standing in the area where something had plowed through the bushes there. So we knew someone or something had gone through where these two people said they saw it. Mm-hmm. And he's looking at marks in the ground that may or may not have been actual footsteps. But that area was so thick at the time that when something plowed through it, something big, it left a wake. And he's in the wake there. That's when myself and him went up there with the witness, and he was pointing out what happened. And of course, later on that night, we heard about another guy who claimed to have had a sighting the following evening. And we went back there with him, and it turned out his sighting wasn't the following evening. It was actually 4.5 hours before.
Oh, wow.
So we had two sightings by two different witnesses of a creature on the same Forest Service trail, about less than a kilometer apart, about 4 hours apart. So it's a fair bet that if both incidents are true, that they saw the same animal. Can't say that with any 100% certainty.
Right. Well, I mean, I feel completely honored that I was able to go to this spot. This picture right here is my picture of me up there at that spot. And it's just breathtaking. And you can kind of, imagine all the tours that have gone through there, and you could see the remnants of where you guys would have a little fire occasionally, and you can see, Brad was showing me where he set up a little table with casts and talked to people and giving them the full tour up there. And it's just it was really nice to do there. There's a picture of Brad in the Hummer. So it was wonderful. It was great. It was a great trip, and man, it was amazing. It really was. He had little stories that he told me about every little offshoot going up there, and this is where, this person saw this, and this person did this, and we came back here, and it,
well,
on and on.
In the years we ran Bill's tour, on the tour itself, there were three times where people on the tour thought they saw something. 2 sightings and 1 track finding. The track finding was on the west side. The first time was a little girl, and she was like 10, 11 years old. But she's one of these kids that's brilliant, is going to go to college and university, like Sheldon from The Big Bang Theory. When he's a little kid, he's already in university. She was that brilliant, right? And we were coming back out after doing the talk and everything, and suddenly her mother tapped me on the shoulders and said she thought she saw something back there. So we back right up, went right back up to that clearing before you turn towards, as you come out of Face Lap Alley, that clearing, and she said, it's gone. It was, something was right up there. And you say, you sure it wasn't one of those stumps? I said, well, the stump was moving. And so who knows what she saw? Yeah. And the next one, it was a very interesting one. 2 fellows whose names gone out of my head, but they produced a video that you could see on YouTube. They took the tour, and it was one of the last tours we did. We were coming down, going right through Face Lap Alley, and we went all the way to that high observer point, like you see in that photograph there, and we were telling them the history and everything, and we were starting to come back out, and I stopped and I told them about that little girl and what she thought she saw, and he finally said, "Okay, I can't take this anymore. Okay, when we were coming down that way just a while ago before we got here, I thought I saw something off to the left. It was standing by trees." And his buddy said, who was really, at the time, I think more of an enthusiastic for the Sasquatch mystery, he was mad. He said, "Why didn't you say something?" And he says, "We're on a Sasquatch tour, and I think I see a Sasquatch. I figured these guys were pulling something." That's what he said. He thought we had put a cutout out there or had somebody in a suit, and he wasn't going to fall for it. And we said, we're going back the way we came, and we're going to stop where you saw this thing. And sure enough, we stopped. We looked down, and we could see the cedar trees where he thought he saw something. Of course, there was nothing there. And it was only like a few 100 feet to the spot where he saw this thing, but it took a long time to get there because the whole thing was just covered in like moss and everything over deadfall and stuff like that. So you think you're falling on solid ground, but you'd fall down 4 feet into a hole. It took a while to get there. And all the trees were flat. So I don't know what he saw. Did he see something? Did he see a bear standing up watching us go by? The point is, he's the only one that saw it. I was driving at the time, and Bill was looking straight ahead, and his partner was looking straight ahead. And he was the only one that looked off that way and saw something standing there. We completely missed it. And on the way back out, he said, "Okay, I now believe you guys are not trying to pull something. I saw something back there." And we went all the way back, just around. You know, there were marks in the ground in the firs and stuff that some of them thought might be tracks, but there could be 100 explanations for them, in my opinion. But we don't know. If it happened and they saw a Sasquatch, we could have seen one that day. We missed it because he didn't speak up.
Mm. And that's on the way up to Face Slap Alley, right?
You're in Face Slap Alley where this happened. Yeah, you're halfway through it. Yeah.
Pretty sure.
And when you went, Brad, you went right past the spot. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like a really steep.
Off to the left, there's like a little valley there, you know, and it was down that valley amongst 3 trees. There used to be a dip filled with water that we'd slow down and go slowly try to get through, get the other side. It was just right around there is where that spot was. Yeah.
Yeah,
but
super thick.
He didn't say. He thought he saw a Sasquatch, but he kept it to himself because he assumed, because he had cynical mind, he assumed that pulling something.
He set it up. It was a setup.
Yeah, it was a setup. Yeah.
So I'm going to show a little part of Bill Miller here, and I'm going to unmute it. This part we're going to show. This comes from episode 143 from Jerry's channel, you know, Sasquatch Crue, formerly known as Bukwas Crue. His channel, you can find the entire, I'll make sure to put the link down in the description.
One of the things that amazes me when we're out in the bush is that you can look forever. You can travel all day long, hundreds and hundreds of kilometers, going in the most remote places you can imagine. Perfect times, feeding grounds even, where you know there's plenty of berries and food, salmon. And we don't even see a bear, a black bear. There's hundreds of black bears in this general area. We don't even see a deer. It's just unbelievable. At night, you can set up on Lake Harrison here where we're at now. You can go 20 miles up there and look up towards Mount Breckenridge, and you won't see a flashlight, a car light, nothing. There are places, it's so thick and remote, you could hide a dinosaur up there and no one would never know it. Well, mine goes back to 1980 to a fishing trip I went on in northern Minnesota with a friend of mine. We got hung up in a feeder stream late one night, and about 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning, I think it was, the fishing had died down, real still and quiet, and I started hearing a pounding sound. The best way I could ever describe it to people is it's like tapping your chest with your fist and getting that dead thumping sound. But it was getting louder, gradual, real slow and gradually louder. And then I started hearing a breathing sound going in and out, like this. And it kept a perfect rhythm. The pounding kept a perfect rhythm. And I'm thinking, this must be the world's largest bear or something big is headed our way. I hope it doesn't come out of the night and we're sitting here in a few feet of water in a bass boat with only fishing poles to defend ourselves. Well, this thing just kept coming like it was coming right towards us. Now I'm 20, 22 years old, not afraid of anything in them days. Wouldn't want to admit to anybody that I was, and I was scared to death. I started getting really nervous. The hair stood up on the back of my neck. This pounding's getting louder, just like this, and the breathing's getting louder. And all I can tell you is something large on 2 feet ran by us on the shoreline, never broke its stride, never stopped its breathing pace, just like a machine. I don't think it ever knew we was there. And it just came right by from left to right for that brief moment, and you look at it like, what the hell was that? And then it just starts going away, and you start hearing everything in reverse that you heard coming towards you.
So did Bill, after this, have any more experiences that close that he thought might have been Sasquatch?
Well, he was with me and Jerry on a rather interesting sighting report that ended up where we found footprints afterwards and things like that. No other sighting reports on his part of Sasquatch. Yeah.
I always felt sorry for him there because he really wanted to find an answer to his question. And he was a bit like Ahab after Moby Dick, not to that extreme, but he was really involved in the whole show. And I feel sorry for him that he never got his answers. all the years he spent looking for those answers.
And he was strictly zoological. He had no time
100% animal
for the paranormal claims, and he had no time for hope. Oh, he hated hoaxers. If he caught you hoaxing, he exposed it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you were talking about an incident where you and him were involved with the Ruby Creek prince, which was the Mark Corton. Is it Corton, his last name?
Yeah, Mark Corton. We were talking a little while ago about two incidents that happened in the summer of 2008 up on oh geez, name's gone off my head just now. But this incident happened that following September. It was known as the Mark Corton incident. I have the file here on it. That's my file 10162, in other words, 162 for British Columbia. It occurred on the 21st of September 2008. Mark Corton was a bear hunter. Well, I'll just read the first little bit here. Mr. Mark Corton of Chilliwack, BC, contacted Jerry Matthews, the handsome fellow at the bottom of your screen there, on West Coast Sasquatch to report to see a Sasquatch while hunting. Jerry passed the information to Bill Miller, whom rushed out to meet him at the location the following day. Were you there with them that day, Jerry, or was it just him and the witness?
I was out with him, Barry Blount, and Bill Miller on the east side of Harrison, I believe. We spent the whole afternoon with these UTV. And we came back, and I came home, and Barry stayed with Bill. And when I got home, there was an email waiting for me from this chap who said he was from Chilliwack. He just had an encounter and in Ruby Creek, and he's heading back there right now to look for evidence. So if he wanted me to join him, better get out there.
Yeah.
Well, I just got in through the door coming back from Harrison, so I sent off an email to Bill and Barry, and two of them drove over and met him. And you went there the next day, I believe, and you can take the story from there.
Yeah. While there, a search was conducted, an attempt was made to recover the rock that was claimed to have been thrown by the creature. The next morning, Bill contacted myself. I'm the ugly guy in the top right. And accompanied with one other person, which is a female researcher whose name I can't remember. Chrissy and her damn dog.
You just want to forget her name, that's all.
Another search was carried out. One fairly good footprint was found by myself, and another not so clear possible print was found by the third person. Photos and measurements were carried out. On the good track, length was approximately 13 inches, width of the lawn was approximately 8 inches wide, mid-tarsal rake covered the track, two upside down skunk cabbage leaves, because the area had been flooded and there was a lot of water in the track. And we wanted to come back the next day to take photographs of the print when we knew the water would be gone. And that's what we ended up doing. And we ended up casting it. And we chose to cast it in there because another couple of days of solid rain were on the way. And we figured they might be there because these footprints were not in mud. They were not in the ground. They were upon layer and layer of rotting vegetation, because the area was a bog area, right? In thick trees in the bog area. And a couple of days later, on September 25th, I went to interview Mr. Corton at his home in Chilliwack and did a complete interview of the whole incident there. And he only lived across the railway tracks from where Jerry lived at the time. Later on, he apparently, because he was a gas fitter, he ended up moving to Alberta to work in the oil industry. And I haven't heard from him since. But I have the full interview here. And it was quite an interesting case. It really was. He claimed he was hunting. And he's a tall man. He's like 6'2" tall, wearing, hunter's camouflage like I'm wearing here, carrying a high-powered rifle, walking along this road beside the bog. And the first thing he notices is this boulder spiraling towards him like someone lobbed a football. He said was described as rather football shaped, like sort of pointed at the ends and thick in the middle, rolled to him, and it landed in the water right next to him and splashed him. And he just saw this dark figure moving quickly through the trees along the edge of the bog out of sight. And he would lose sight of it, and it would stop. He'd move a little bit, and then it would start moving again, and got further and further away until he never heard or saw it again. And that's basically what he saw. I don't know about you, but I'm not going to go throw rocks at a guy who's 6'2" carrying a high-power rifle in the middle of nowhere. I'm just not going to do it. Maybe somebody would, but I wouldn't. So, and this is about 5 kilometers up Ruby Creek Forest Service Road. And we went there, and later on, Jerry and I went back, and we were fishing in that bog for the rock, trying to pull the rock. And this was really, really interesting because Jerry, you saw that photograph he was showing you earlier, holding the rock. It was almost perfectly round like a cannonball, right?
Yeah.
And we showed it to Corton. He could have said, "Hey, where you go, guys? You found it." But no, he said, "No, boys, you got the wrong rock. The rock that was shown to me was thick in the middle and had sort of like football ends to it, like pointed ends. That thing's perfectly right. You got the wrong rock." I figured, well, when we went through to get that rock, we weren't going to go out there and pull the rest of it. Yeah.
Hell, I was there like one of these guys looking for landmines. I had this long stick in my hand, and I was poking it down in the water, hoping to hear a clunk. And
we were up
one rock. That one rock is all I could find.
Yeah, and we were up to our waist in this stuff, and we stank.
Even more so than usual.
Yeah, more so than usual. Yeah, we found the rock, so it's known as the coordinates, and it's the area where it happened today is, while they in the years since then, this was 2008, they have built a sort of hydro power plant on the other side of the road where the big beaver pond was, where all the water backed up because of beaver. And just down right in the corner where some of those photos you're showing, you see thick bush, that's all been cleared because they went and put a second stringer of high tension lines through there. And the hill above the siting where this place was clear-cut log. At the time, it wasn't. It was covered in trees. So, civilization has basically come out and kicked the crap out of this area since then. But it's still fairly wooded and remote compared to everywhere else. So you never know. There have been other reports in that area before, and there probably will be again. Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you think made Bill stand out as a good researcher?
Just stick to the facts, never deviate from the facts attitude, basically. Yeah, he did a great...
He grabbed that from you, or did you grab that from him?
No, he grabbed it from me. That's my saying. That's the one I came up with. He always accused me of... he said, "You probably stole that from Rene." I said, "No, Rene would have been put swearing into it."
I mean, the work that Bill did with Thomas, the work that two of them did together to straighten out the Bluff Creek massacre thing, that was a work of art. That was two conscientious guys doing a lot of hard, honest work.
And another a lot of people don't know is before he ever got involved in Sasquatch, Bill Miller was fascinated and was an expert on the Kennedy assassination in Dallas. He knew everybody. You see all those picture stuff. He could name all the people in those photographs and where they lived and what happened to him. He knew everything. And while he was in Seattle, he dropped in at the Ford Motion Picture Lab at 306 Fairview Avenue in Seattle, Washington, because he wanted to pick up 8mm film to go, because he was going on a trip down to Dallas, and he wanted to do comparison to the Zapruder film. And somehow the topic of Bigfoot came up, and there was an old gentleman there. "Oh, yeah, we developed that movie here. We showed it right there on the wall." Talking about the Patterson Gimlin film. So when anyone says we don't know where the Patterson Gimlin film was developed, I can tell where it was developed. It was at the Ford Motion Picture Lab at 306 Fairview Avenue in Seattle, Washington. That's where the film was developed. He said, the first young man who came in here was a businessman. He paid us a little money under the table, like a lot of people did, because back in the 60s, people with money had other types of movies developed under the table. And he said, we had no problem. We've done it 1,000 times before. We developed it for him, showed him on the wall. This man was obviously Al Diatley. A week or so later, a small cowboy showed up to have copies made, Roger Patterson. So that's where the film was made. And Bill's biggest fault, and his real one big fault, in my opinion, is he never wrote anything down. He never took notes. He never wrote anything down. It was all remembered in his head. He never write anything down. I said, well, what was his name? And I said, I can't remember. You write it down? No. I mean, one of the frustrating things with me is the border people, every time he came into Canada, the border people gave him such a hard time all the time. And because he ran a business up here, right?
Uh-huh.
I was getting, because I went through this with him a number of times, and I was getting mad, but he had the patience of a saint. I said, Bill, you've got to take names, badge numbers, because next time you come through here, you're going to be dealing with a different person. He's going to give you a completely different story. And sure enough, every time it's, well, who told you that? And he, of course, Bill couldn't answer because he didn't know that.
Oh.
Why they told you that? And it was like, to me, like every time a different border official was giving him a different set of hoops to jump through, like a different set of rules every time, you know, and it was ridiculous. But Bill had the patience of a saint when it came to things like that. It never let it get under his skin. Whereas me, I was ready to blow up at them, but I didn't. I just know that would make it even harder for us. So,
well, you know, Bill had his interest, which was Sasquatch, and the other one was the assassination of JFK.
Yeah, he was
right here. I have from Mary Farrell and the JFK Lancer New Frontier Award, 2003, presented to Bill Miller in appreciation for your discovery of new evidence in the assassination of President John F. Kennedy.
Whoa.
Now, that is an organization. They have a website, and they investigate assassinations and assassinations attempts and everything like that. And I was a go-between for Bill and his wife after he passed away, and I collected his stuff, his belongings, and he, like some religious people have the Pope in their living room, a big picture of the Pope or something. He had a big picture, a shrine of John Fitzgerald Kennedy on the wall. I said, this is unbelievable. I've never seen anything like this before. I knew Thomas said he had it. He never talked about it among us, though. But I knew Thomas said that, you know, he got this thing about JFK. And it wasn't until I got a look at, oh, yeah, it was a shrine. That's the only word for it. And, yeah, that was his only two interests in life, JFK and Sasquatch.
Yeah.
Did he have his own group there in Minnesota?
No.
Don't think so.
No. When he went to Minnesota, all he did was plan to come back. He'd never go back to Minnesota if he could help it.
Yeah.
Yeah. He just wanted to come here. But another funny story, he was bringing when his father passed away, Bill went down there to get his Winnebago. And he wanted to bring that back up to Canada, the big Winnebago camper. So I actually flew down to Panora, Illinois to help him do the driving. I went there. And it was the middle of winter. It was January, right? Oh, it was cold. But let me put it this way. I did most of the driving, okay? And after I drove the first day, Bill was going to take over for a few hours, and I was going to get some sleep because I hadn't flown over everything. I hadn't had a chance. I said, I gotta close my eyes for a while, and I did. And I wake up, and we're at this pullout somewhere. And he said, I've been driving for about 4 hours now. I think you can handle it. I said, sure. Where are we? Because I could see the outline of a city in the distance. And then there was this great big "You Are Here" sign. I'm looking at it. Bill, come here. Why are we just outside Kansas City?
Oh no.
Kansas City, Missouri. You see, he was supposed to, I can't remember the name of the highway, just go down about a half an hour and then turn right again and take the highway across the American prairies into Colorado. But no, he stayed.
Oh my God. Just kept going down.
4.5 to 5 hours the wrong way. I was just looking at him, and I was walking back towards him, and I could see him just standing there looking up at this "You Are Here" sign, and he did what he always did when he couldn't get out of it. He'd go, So every time he tried to nudge me about something silly I had done, and Bill was great. He loved holding something over your head if he knew he could get a laugh. I just replied by going, Kansas City, here we come.
So that's the inside joke there.
Yeah. Because anything I did wrong, I never topped that.
Yeah. That's far to not realize you're going.
We were driving at night, At night, it was the next morning.
Should have left at Albuquerque. Yeah.
And I just said, how could you make this mistake? You actually drove this a couple times before. You knew you had to turn right. I guess I missed the turn, so I just kept going.
You remember the day he tried to blame me for stepping in a Sasquatch print?
All the way back up and coming around.
Oh, man.
Incredible.
What were you saying, Jerry?
I was saying that Thomas, do you remember the day that he blamed me for stepping in a Sasquatch print?
Say that again, Jerry?
Remember the day we went up and interviewed this lady who saw something she thought was a Sasquatch shadowing her along the dirt road? And then it came around a bend of the road and disappeared into the bush. We interviewed her, and we interviewed her husband too. And we went out to check for footprints. Barry Blunt and you were in the lead. I was in the middle, and Bill was pulling up the rear.
Yes. That was.
And I saw this print right in the middle of the trail. A pretty good print too.
Yeah.
And I said, "Whoa, hey guys, we got a print here. Don't step on it on the way back up, okay?" I said, "Yeah." So I turned and off the trail to come back through the bush to cut for a sign to see if I missed a trackway somewhere. And I saw Bill coming down the path, and we passed each other. He didn't see me. I was in the bush. I went a little further, turned around and said, "Oh, there's nothing else here," and came back down. And I could see Bill up ahead stopped, and he was looking at the middle of the path. And I kept on walking towards him, and he called out to Thomas, I think, "Did you say there was a footprint here?" And Thomas said, "Yeah, be careful." He said, Jerry must have stepped in it. There's a big boot print right in the center of it. And by that time, I was standing right behind his back. I said, "You bastard." And he turned and he said, "Oh, you saw that, did you?" I said, "I saw enough." And his head, as Thomas would say, just dropped down. And he said, "Oh, well, I guess I can't get away with that one." Everybody had a good laugh.
We were looking at the tracks, but we had left the measuring tape back in one of the vehicles, and Barry Blunt went back to get it, the tape, and he didn't come back. Turned out Barry was having a bit of an attack later on. And I went back to get the tape, and I came back with the tape, and these guys had come out, and I'm looking at the tracks. One of the tracks is damaged. I said, "Oh, God, who stepped in the track?" And I went back out and said, "Which one of you guys stepped in the track?" And of course, Bill goes, "Wow, it must have been Jerry." Not knowing Jerry was standing right behind him. And he goes, "You just hear Jerry, you bastard."
Oh, man.
Oh, yeah. No shame about throwing anyone under the bus. That was our group.
Yeah. Did he ever express frustration about any particular case or something that happened that you guys were investigating? Something
Yes,
that
the most thing that frustrated them most was the old controversy over the so-called massacre of Bluff Creek,
Mm.
because
Um,
we knew it was a load of crap. Yeah, and
right.
yeah, and it all started because we were all, of course, very close to John Green, right? And John Green started receiving strange emails from people like 911,
David Paulides.
David Pilates and Bobby Short saying, John, we know the truth. You got to come clean. And of course, John didn't know what the hell he was talking about.
Yeah.
And then next through that, we found out that MK had come out with this ridiculous tinfoil hat massacre of Bluff Creek theory, and that John Green and Rene and Titmus were all special assassins and went down there to wipe out a family of Sasquatch and bury the evidence and keep the whole thing hushed up, that
Right.
kind of thing. So Bill and I got together, and John, he was so taken aback, and John didn't feel like writing out anything because it was like, so Bill and I did it. We wrote an article going through every bit of the claim, step by step, piece by piece, right? Oh, you got it there. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I've notes on it.
all the stills, and we noticed how MK had
article.
alter the contrast on the stills from Rene Dahinden's Blue Creek Mountain footage, and to make the blood on the look like the pilot had blood on his hands. And at the time, they were claiming the pilot was Bob Titmus. They really believed it was Bob Titmus. It wasn't a man named Pete Gazzara who flew the plane down there. Yeah. And well, we just tore it apart, and we thought we would put that whole thing to rest back in 2009, but it keeps coming up.
Keeps coming back, doesn't it?
There's still people who believe it.
Quite the life, that story. And
well, Bill stayed up. He wouldn't go to bed. He would just, I come down there. Oh, you need to, and of course, I'd say, well, you need to say it this way and that way, and that's how the article came about. And as far as I'm concerned, we blew it out of the water in 2009. But some people just want to believe anything they want to believe. Yeah. MK's been on damage control ever since. Yeah.
Jen says my audio's a bit wonky. Can you hear me now?
It's you're good there, but it's a little like getting feedback. Like there's two sources open somewhere.
Two. Let me see.
Or it could be just Thomas's voice.
I don't know.
I
don't know. We'll have to keep going. I just have to stay close to the mic. For some reason, it's not. Whenever I go away, it's getting feedback.
Yeah.
Okay. So, if you're interested, you guys should really pick up The Massacre at Bluff Creek. Just when you think you've heard it all, by Bill Miller in association with Thomas Steenburg. It's a great source, of information. I highlighted it, circled things I didn't know, and it has all the pictures related to the PNG site, and it's really interesting. I mean, I highly recommend you guys go find that and keep that in your archives. So also Jacko site, you had found the Jacko site, and you took Bill along with you,
and the Lake Bear.
Yep. And that was another place I was fortunate. Oops, it didn't go in there. There it goes. Fortunate enough to, here we go, get to see for myself. What an experience. What an amazing place. I wish it hadn't been 100 degrees, but it was a really neat place to go and explore. And yeah, that's an active railway still. But Thomas took us up there. Quite an experience, for sure.
And it fit that spot outside Tunnel 4 fit the description of that 1884 article to a T. And the key to that discovery was the fact the article was explicit and said tunnel number 4. But the article back then also said tunnel number 4 was 20 miles from Yale. It's not. It's only about 2 miles from Yale. It's 20 miles from Hope. So probably a misprint back then, just like the date was, because it was dated 1882 when it was actually 1884. And we were there and we were discussing at the little Yale Museum. This is long before we had the Sasquatch display at the museum in 2012. And we were talking to a fellow whose name I can't remember, but we called him One Ear because he had been injured and was missing an ear. But he said, tunnel number 4 is, I know how to get there. And I said, are you sure? And he said, yeah, because there are no tunnels south of between Yale and Hope. All the tunnels start north of Yale because that's where the Fraser Canyon really begins. Right? That was as far as the paddle wheelers could get up the river back in the day. They couldn't come up any further because the water was too high. So tunnel number 4. So he said, I know a way down there on a rarely used road that leads down to the First Nation Cemetery. And that's what we ended up doing, and that's the road I took you on to get there last summer. And that's how we found it. And what got me is, when we went there, I said, I've been here before because I recognized that memorial plaque that was on the rock because a guy in a car on the Trans-Canada Highway in the early 70s went off the road at that point and he came down and killed himself on the track. Right? There was a little memorial to him there. And I said, I've seen that before and I got pictures of it from before, but I wasn't looking for Jocko at the time, so that's why I was doing it there. But yeah, that's where it happened. Tunnel number 4, just outside of Yale, British Columbia. Yeah, allegedly happened. If the story is true. Yeah.
Yeah. If you guys remember, I think even Grover Krantz had suggested that Jocko was purchased by P.T. Barnum and that he was exhibited as Jojo, the dog face. But there's no evidence to that. And some people say that Jojo actually could speak several different languages. So that kind of.
Well, there was a different. P.T. Barnum would never let a good name die. If he didn't use it once, he'd use it again. And 5 years later, he brought back Jojo the Fog-Faced Boy. And there are photographs of a young man that suffered from that rare affliction where hair grows all over the body. And P.T. Barnum, sucker born any minute. He had the kid dressed up in some Cossack outfit and a story about this hairy people and the Urals who fought against the Tsar, blah, blah, blah. But who was the original Jojo the Dog-Faced Boy that he had in 1884? And people were wondering about that. Me, I don't know if I agree with the late Grover Krantz there because P.T. Barnum, being the man he was, the creature died and that wouldn't have stopped him. He would have stuffed the body and displayed it anyway. And he didn't. So who knows? They were talking about a guy who sold a chimp torso to a fishtail and called it Fiji Mermaid. So
yeah.
That was P.T. Barnum, yeah.
Well, you have to remember, too, that it was originated, if I'm not mistaken, as as a newspaper story. Was that not correct? That's how it came to the public.
Yeah.
And we all know that those guys cannot be totally trusted, not even today. But you know what? Just to veer off the subject for one brief second, what it brings to mind is, you remember earlier this year, those 2 people perished down in Oregon while out looking for Sasquatch evidence. Yeah. Now, I find an awful lot of discrepancies in that story. So and that was started by a guy who wrote the story for our magazine. And then if you go on the internet and look it up, about a dozen or more major newspapers across the world have picked it up and repeated it. But to me, I find it sort of smacks of the old day of yellow journalism. You know, make up a story, but don't give them any specific names, times, dates, or anything like that. You know, and that's what Jocko reminds me of, is this story about those two people. Because I contacted people down in that area, and they never heard of these people. They don't know anybody died while I'm looking for Sasquatch evidence. Mm-hmm. The police found the car 100 miles away from where they were supposed to be. You know, like what were the police looking 100 miles away for their vehicle? It's like an awful lot of work going on, you know, for these people weren't even officially missing at that time. And it's just stuff, it's discrepancies like that, that's all. So when I hear a story like Jocko, and it's started by a newspaper or something, right away you got to put your skeptical ears up, in my opinion, anyway.
The Jocko story is a classic tale, and it's doomed to be nothing more than that.
Yeah, for sure. How did Bill handle skepticism and criticisms?
He basically, this is another frustrating thing I had with him. He would love to debate, like on the old BFF site and stuff like that. He would debate and go on and go over point by point by point. I said, Bill, why are you knocking yourself out like this? He's just going to read what you said, go silent for a few weeks, and then repeat it like you never said anything at all. So you're not going to change their mind. So why are you even bothering so hard to try? But that was just his mindset and the way he was. Yeah.
Did Bill have a preferred method of like investigating? Because you already said, said he wouldn't write anything down. He was kind of opposite of you in that stance where you documented everything. Mm-hmm. And he didn't. Was he just pull out, boots on the ground, see it, just trying to prove it for himself?
Basically, that was it. Yeah, he didn't care if the world believed in Sasquatch or not. He wanted to know.
Yeah.
Sort of the same attitude I've had in the last 30 years. Yeah. He wanted to know. He wanted to confirm. He wanted to know if what happened to him at Lake Pend Oreille back in 1980 was real or not. He wanted to know.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. He wanted to know.
Well, it's kind of like a lot of us now. We all go into this, especially the boots on the ground guys, that they're going to go and they're going to try to get that hard evidence for everybody. And eventually they kind of turn to, man, I don't even care anymore. I just want to see it for myself.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people who are turning that way, that they're going away from social media. They're turning away from all the nonsense, and just doing their own thing and just to prove it to themselves. And I understand that. I can totally get that now. I didn't before, really, but now it seems like it really, are we going to be here in another 50 years the same way? The same thing, discussing the same issues, the same massacres and the same, things just don't seem to be changing too much lately. And the encounter stories are still coming out. There's still people who are saying that they're walking into their backyards. But even though the methods are there, the technology is there to capture these things, we're not capturing it, So why is that? Why haven't we caught up to these creatures?
Good questions.
You need to tune in to a show that we're going to do on Jerry's show, Sasquatch Crue, in the next little while. where we discuss why now, between now and 2030, is so important, at least in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Ooh,
We'll discuss it now because we're supposed to be talking about Bill Miller.
Yeah, that's right. But Bill has another side too that wasn't touched on, and he was how to describe it. He was a master of the one-liners, the zingers, and everything else. And some people easily took offense to Bill.
Yeah.
Because he had that natural way about him of just inserting into a conversation, a zinger, like make people look like
a normal, friendly Midwestern U.S. thing.
Yeah, but you had to get used to him. Once you got used to him, it became normal. You didn't take offense anymore. You laughed with him most of the time.
Yeah. But he was, I would watch and say, Bill, you got to remember, you're in Canada now. This isn't Illinois. You're actually pissing people off and you don't even realize it.
Oh, man. Wow.
Yeah. But I mean, once you got into the groove with him, shall we say, it was freaking hilarious spending a day on the trail with him. And that, Thomas. It was hilarious. Mainly because if Thomas wasn't there, he'd be zinging Thomas. If I wasn't there, he'd be zinging me.
He zinged everybody. Yeah, all the time.
Yeah, he wasn't prejudiced. He zinged everybody equally. Yeah.
And you really had to keep an eye on him because he had I already told you about Kansas City. Oh, the bush way up in Garner Creek, or actually it was Ruby Creek. It was getting dark, and we've been out there all day, and he's driving the Polaris. He said, how long do you think it will be? He looks around, I'm in the passenger seat, he said, and he's driving. He said, how long do you think it will be before we get back to the car? I said, it'll go a lot quicker. You turn around and go the other way. I wonder how long he would have gone if I hadn't said that.
Oh my goodness! So he was not a good navigator.
No. And another thing is his attitude. He was an American boy, so every time we went out in the Polaris, I always had to bring the 12 gauge, right? So he'd see something. He said, is that a stump or is that something? Shoot it. See if it moves. And the time he ran into the grizzly bear out there, next time he said, well, you could have outran it. No problem, Thomas. Have faith in you. I said, I don't need to outrun the bear. I just need to outrun you.
I'm going to play a little bit more of Bill here.
Time to the adventurer who doesn't stop at the foothills but penetrates deep into the forest. To me, if you're going to look into anything, you should look into it thoroughly and not just half do it. It's like an adventure. It's a mystery. It's something that's come to me that I've had a taste of. And because of that, I can't let it go.
Yeah, so I'm going to stop it there because there's another little part. But
yes, speaking of zingers,
yeah, there was some zinger part. I don't know if you want me to say that or not, but you can watch the.
Yeah, he had a nice boat that he ended up selling. That we used to go out in Harrison Lake, and we go up to Stokey Creek and places like that to search and look around. We have this guy, I won't mention his name because we haven't exposed him on this yet, but he's been around a long time, who allegedly took a picture of a Sasquatch on a small hill, he said, right around the camp at Stokey Creek. And we went up there, and I was scanning the sides of Mount Breckenridge, and all Bill heard me say was, oh, that lying bastard. And Bill knew right away, and he did that.
Oh,
what did you find? Look right up there through the binoculars, right at that spot there on the side of Mount Breckenridge. Does that not look like his Sasquatch photo? It was his Sasquatch photo. It's a big hunk of rock on an outcropping of Mount Breckenridge. I guess this individual never thought we'd actually go out there to look and follow up. And later on, when we were talking to him about it, we sat there and never let on. And and told him to tell us the story again. And we sat there and listened to him tell us and lie to our faces for 30 minutes without giving away. We knew what he actually took a picture of.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So because we had heard that he had sold this photograph to some German magazine for a large amount of money, and that we were going to wait till that magazine came out, then we were going to blow it away like we blew away the massacre of Bluff Creek. We're going to do the same thing. But Bill was on his laptop when this individual came up behind him and said, "Hey, where did you get my photos?" And he looked, "Those aren't your photos. Those are the photos Steenburg took 2 days later or 2 weeks later when we went up there to check on your story."
Oh my gosh.
So there.
So this guy, we still talk to him every now and then and stuff, but he's never brought that so-called sighting of his up again. Yeah. So
Where did you meet Bill?
Bill used to come up and say, "Do you know who John Miles is?" He's the guy who lives up at the camp at 20 Mile Bay. He's sort of the caretaker up there. Bill met him and was coming up here to do research, and he was staying at John Miles's place. And I met him, I think, at John Green's house, because Green, he phoned me because he wanted to meet me because he had read my books. And I met him and I said, "Why are you going all the way up there?" Because he was just, Miles was sort of using him as a taxi service back and forth into the town all the time. He was getting a little tired of it. So I said, "Okay, Bill, let's find you a place here in town where you can put your camper and stuff, and probably and you don't have to go drive 4 hours just to get a tank of gas." And that's what we did. And that's how I met Bill. Oh, this is Bill's humor here. You got to play this video you got up there right now.
That's the one I was talking about.
Yeah, this is me and Bill.
Play that? Okay.
Okay. This is his humor.
Okay.
I'm holding the camera, so that's why you don't see me. So, yeah.
It's not gonna look good when the cops stop us on the logging road and ask you why you're smoking weed, Tom. Told you to get off that shit. Would you consider rehab if Sasquatch Country Adventures sent you there and paid for it?
That's another video we can't use.
He was so dry.
I swear to God, at one time we had 80 videos where I'm filming Bill, and he'd say something so outrageous, you just hear my voice in the background saying, "Well, there's more footage we can't use." He'd say something crude or that kind of thing. And we go out at night in the Sasquatch part at night, and he asks, "You got the camera rolling?" And he goes, "Yeah." "Okay, I want you to stop saying those bad things about Jerry Matthews." I go, "What?" "Jerry's my buddy. I don't want you cutting him down like that." I go, "What are you talking about?" "You know what you said. I can't repeat it." I said, "There's a good reason you can't repeat it."
Yeah.
"Oh, you weren't." And then he'd say, "Oh, you weren't recording that, were you?" He knew damn well the camera was on.
That's where I met Bill too, was at John Green's house.
That's
We were up there, myself and you and Ken Kirchable. 3 members of our group that we started back in 2003, West Coast Sasquatch Investigations.
Yeah. That's a number of the photographs you're looking now. That's a number of years we were in Harrison Hot Springs, Canada Day and Sasquatch Day Parade. So that's him taking out the castings to talk to the people on the tour.
You want me to stop it on each photo so you can talk about them?
That was me and Bill on Garnet Creek, and there's John Green and Bill. I like that action shot. That really looks sharp the way it was taken on an angle.
Thank you. I took the picture.
I know you did. That is really hot. It looks like they're careening down a hillside or something.
Yeah, well, they're going through a deep tank trap ditch. And you know what? They keep going, and I'd have to go running after them. Bill intentionally did that to me 1,000 times. Keep them coming. Well, you just pick me up on your way back, okay? That's a picture I took of him. That was up north on Norris Creek Road up here in west coast of BC. That's the first Polaris Ranger. God, we went. There isn't a Forest Service road we weren't on a dozen times of that thing.
Why did he sell it? He wanted to get a larger one for the tour?
For the tours, yeah. That's him beside my my Suzuki Samurai before I rolled it and wrecked it. Yeah. And that's at my old place down there in Hatzick. Yeah.
Why is it whenever you guys go off the road, you got to do it in a roadside ditch full of water? I remember having to dig around looking for your keys in about 3 feet of water.
That's my
when you roll that.
Team in the background. That's on the bank of the south bank or the north bank of the Fraser River there. I took a picture of them there. We're just down there looking for tracks.
Mm.
Again, that's actually another ditch, but I did the same thing only from the other side.
Were you up in a tree like a monkey or something?
No, I'm just standing on the side of the road.
I guess so. They look like they're about 2 feet high.
That's Stave Lake. That lake dries up. You can go up there for miles. That's Barry Blunt and Bill. That I think that's Ruby Creek Service Road. Yeah.
This is 2005. That's the 4-wheel. Yeah.
Yeah. Barry's passed away now too. Yeah.
Yeah, they're all going.
Yep. That's Bill. Up Garner Creek Forest Service Road. It used to, well, go back one.
Oops, too far.
That's an old rickety bridge where the old road ended because you can't see it. There's a great big hole there where the bank just gave way. Later on, they started using that road again, and you can now go beyond that point again now. But we used to cross those things, and we look at each other and said, "You think this thing is going to hold?" I don't know. We'll find out.
Oh, good.
That's a winter shot. I think that's when we were filming that Bigfoot Reflections.
That's me and Bill on the peninsula on the east side of Harrison.
Mm-hmm.
You're holding on.
That trail takes you right down to Harrison Lake.
I think this is the trip that sort of convinced you need to get one of these things too, wasn't it, Jerry?
Yep, it was the same trip right here. It's I was like, yeah, get me one of these.
Mm-hmm.
And I did.
That's Sasquatch Provincial Park. I took that picture. That's when we first got it. You know, there's no Bigfoot.
No, there's no decals.
No. Yeah, on it. That's the first time we took it out.
The good old days. And there's you. That's the first time you ever drove one. Because I remember we came back to the campground and he said, me and you and Barry Blunt. And he said, "You want to take her for a run around the grounds, Thomas?" And looked a big shit-eating grin on your face as if you didn't like it. Yeah.
Oh, that was a great little machine. I loved it.
Yeah, I took that picture. And there's Bill and Barry.
We borrowed it, right? We went out. Bill wasn't with us. You and me borrowed it or
Did
something.
we?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Bill and Barry. That's where that rock slide area was way up Garner Creek. You're almost at Harris.
Yeah.
You can't get there anymore. That road is gone.
No, I love that. A 2-hour trip across the mountains to get to East Harrison. Yeah, 2 hours back. That must have been this beautiful country up
That's
here.
a picture I
Oh,
took.
the Thinker. I like that. The
I took
Thinker.
that's the abandoned camp at Oh, okay, you're off it now. That's way up above Ruby Creek. I took that picture of Bill way above Ruby Creek. That was our 2-hour tour up before the park closed it with a gate. We couldn't go up there anymore.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
Oh, that's Mount Breckenridge, taken from the beach in Harrison, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like it, yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of the Sasquatch Days displays we did at the community center in Harrison. We did a lot there. We did this for the town a lot before the new museum and even before they had this display in the old museum in the old building, which we are largely responsible for. And we would talk to the public at these public day events there in Harrison for the town. Talk about the Sasquatch, and anyone was interested. Next person at the table over would be talking about fairies and goblins.
Yeah. I wanted to ask, what was I gonna, what do you think Bill would say about the state of Bigfoot research today?
Same thing I do. We're spinning our wheels.
I think it goes back to what was discussed earlier about the best you can hope for is solving the mystery for yourself, not for everybody else. You know?
Yeah.
Because
solve it is when science gets what science has always demanded: a body or piece of a body or sufficient skeletal remains.
Yeah.
I had always thought that Bill was Canadian. I didn't know until, I started looking into it that he wasn't. He was American. But in Canada, you got Todd Standing, you got the Randy Brissom, you got Mike Patterson, you got these who are calling themselves the top-notch researchers in Bigfoot. And they are under, a microscope, and they're criticized and scrutinized for the content they put out. So,
in some cases, when you're caught hoaxing, your reputation is shot no matter what you do.
Right.
Everything you do is going to be looked at with a jaundiced eye. The number one rule in this is thou shalt not hoax, not ever, not even for a joke. Yeah.
Right, because that can come back to haunt you.
Yeah. It does.
Many say that Brent.
Randy Brisson, I caught throwing rocks. He was fake.
Brent says that Randy Brisson is his hero.
You gotta.
I think that's a bit tongue in cheek.
My hero. What was it? I was gonna say so. Anyway, great. You made me lose my train of thought, Brent. That comment.
On track tunnel number 4 with Jocko.
Well, it's just, where do we go? Where do we go from here? Do we all step back and wait for the next big massacre to happen, or the next big, P&G film, Freeman film? There hasn't been that, and those that have put out stuff saying they've got it, it's just they're not, good enough. It just doesn't seem plausible. The technology that's caught up with us with the AI, the hoaxers, the people in this just for the clicks and the views, creating and manipulating footage. You just use, it seems to me, I can't trust anybody. I don't trust many of the things that I've seen. And
nor should you.
Video. What's up?
I said, nor should you trust.
Yeah.
Trust but verify, as they say.
Right.
It's not going to get any better. Why should it? It hasn't gotten any better in 50 years. What's another 5 going to do? You know?
Right.
I mean,
Right.
either it's there or it isn't there. And but I'd like to prove it isn't there so I can put it to bed once and for all. You know what I mean? A lot of people want to prove it is there. I don't care. I'll prove it isn't there. Then the mystery's solved anyway. But no, I found it very disheartening. It's enough to, as so many others have done, just throw the towel in, as you mentioned. You know, go on to something else. Go collect bottle caps or something. This is not healthy.
We just got to continuously remind ourselves as researchers, disproving its existence is just as important as proving it.
You betcha.
Yeah, we're trying to solve a mystery here. We're not religious fanatics pushing a faith. And like I said, Nikki, you got to turn into a show that we're going to do on Jerry's soon about why the next 5 years are vital. And I won't get into more detail into that unless you guys want to.
No, we'll save that for your show over there. It deserves to be, you know, talked about for sure. Even with all the new technology, you know, is it helping us or is it hindering us?
Both.
Yep.
Great.
I think a lot of people are out there using these thermals and everything else that don't know how to use them.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just a matter of plugging a camera in and pointing it in the dark and saying, okay, there's a deer, there's a cougar. No, you know, you've really got to know your stuff to operate these thermals, as to be able to identify what you're looking at. And not just the thermals, but other things too, drones and what have you. It's, you know, it's all new technology. So you got to be new in the way you think about things.
And any future photograph and video evidence with AI getting the way it is, it's going to have to be really looked at with a jaundiced eye. AI, in my opinion, is going to be a nightmare.
Most definitely. I said for years now that this summer, 2025, the end of this summer, next fall, is going to pretty well be the death of this internet. The stories will still be there that everybody will flock to, but the evidence will be so discreditable, if that's a word, like you wouldn't believe it. Because you can't believe anything you'll be able to see in photographs or videos or anything like that. Mm-hmm. Even if it was actually real, what you videoed or photographed, mm-hmm. It would fall under the realm of artificial intelligence anyway.
Yeah, I think I want to believe that the modern researchers with the new technology are going to come up with answers, because that's the science, right? To be able to prove this existence. But I don't know, maybe it's still this old school way of thinking, of working, less technology, more boots on the ground, longer periods of time, not just the weekend warrior, but somebody who's really going to be out there for months, you know, just tech.
Is people have to make a living, so yeah.
Yeah. But then you got to have somebody to sponsor them. You have to, the money, right? It's not cheap to do these things. And somebody's got to fund that.
I'd be so much more impressed now. One of the things that bothers me so much is these groups always go out and claim to find evidence. They have Sasquatch on the brain from day one, you know. And that, in the eye of the general public, is a red flag. Why don't we hear from groups like from the university who go out for a week and a half to do a study on bear behavior or Wolverine, you know, and that we never hear of them coming back with any that they stumbled across out there.
Right. It's a forestry people and biologists and out there studying, you know, known animals, known arborists, all these, you know, we have people out there planting trees every day in remote areas of the forest.
That's what I said. I have heard stories from tree planters that were intriguing and been but and loggers, of course. But groups are actually doing wildlife studies. No, they never seem to come across anything, or if they have, we haven't heard about it. It's like I said, the next 5 years is going to be vital, and it's completely by accident and an unrelated activity that has nothing to do with the Sasquatch that may either prove or disprove his existence in the next 5 years.
Yeah, I don't think you had to prove. I don't think you'd have to hunt for Sasquatch to find Sasquatch. I don't think that.
We don't find them. We just run into them occasionally.
Exactly. So why can't you run into them when you're going about your business that has nothing to do with them whatsoever? Well, you're out planting trees, you run into moose, you run into cougar, you run into everything, even though you're not looking for them. You seem to stumble across them anyway.
And those are the eyewitness accounts that intrigue me the most. It's why somebody who had nothing to do with Sasquatch, didn't care, or Sasquatch wasn't on their mind, and they see something they are stunned by and upset by and can't believe it themselves. Yeah.
Right. Well, that seems to be the trend. That's what's happening, is we're realizing that we aren't going to hunt them. We aren't going to do that. It's about putting ourselves into situations where they could be. And Brent has said that over and over and over again, is that it's just being out there. It's not really about all this technology sometimes. Maybe it's just being out there. And for sure, I realize that going out there is just fun. It's fun to do that. And the minute it's not fun anymore, then I guess that's when it's time to get out, to find another hobby or something else.
Well, even with Bill, I think it might have come down to that, what you just said, that it's not fun anymore. Now there's only the business aspect of it, doing the tours and what have you,
I think that bothered him too. I mean, the whole reason he started Sasquatch Country Adventures was to finance expeditions, but
the business became a self-feeding monster.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and that's another reason he was coming back all the time when he shouldn't have, because he didn't want to miss disappointing people by not giving them their tours. I mean, I did them for him. Brad Trent did them for him, and he did a lot himself. Sometimes we went out together, but it was only 2 or 3 people, and it still wasn't up. Well, it started off that way. He let it get out of control. I mean, when he came across this idea, I said, "Yeah, I'll help you out." And I was thinking of like maybe 1 or 2 a week. So, and he was talking about 4 or 5 a day. I go, what?
Oh my goodness! I could not imagine doing that tour.
No,
more than 2, 1 in the morning and 1 in the afternoon, maybe 2 a day. But that's too much. That was quite the trail, bouncing around and everything. I couldn't see a tour guide doing all that.
And people like Angie Reed, Bill Reed's daughter, offered to help Bill in putting the web page for the company together and stuff. That Bill, that sounds good, but it would go right out of his head, and he'd totally forget about it. I had to put my foot down. I said, we're not going to do this unless we actually get spare tires from the machine. Don't give me a couple of cans of Run Flat, because they just don't work.
Do a bit of maintenance there. Yeah. Well, Gwen was going to drive for him. She even went out and got her fourth class 4 license.
Yeah.
And she was going to drive for him. But then his health started to go downhill so quickly after that point.
Yeah, that was really, you had to have a class 2 or class 4 license to do this, because you're touring people. That's like a small bus license in Canada. That was
like
rule.
A limousine license,
I maintained it.
License.
But you know what? Bill was always after us to get those licenses. He never got it himself. The best.
No.
Oh my goodness.
He never did. He's going after Barry Blunt, and Barry was Poor Barry was embarrassed because he failed the test twice.
Oh, it was tough. Gwen failed it 3 times before she finally got it.
Yeah. I was lucky. I had it in Alberta, and I just maintained because I thought it might come in handy someday. And so I didn't have to jump through any more hoops. I already had it. I still have it. Cost me a little more every year, but I still have it in case, I ever lose my job, and maybe I can get a job driving a bus somewhere or something, So I just kept it. And but Bill, he never got it. That son of a bitch, he never got it. He would always go after all the people who work for him. You got to get it. You got to get it. And he just lied and said, "Hope I don't get caught."
All in all, Bill was a good, decent guy. I'll say that about him. But I mean, he had his other side too. You had to keep your wits about you because he'll soon have you talked into something that, and 2 hours later you're saying, "What the hell did I say that for?" Look what I got to do now. So you always had to be careful around Bill.
That lower picture there where Bill's smiling at the camera, I took that. We had a display table during the 2010 Olympics. There's some big display tent in downtown Vancouver that we went to every damn day of the Olympics to set this up. And we're listening to the loudspeakers and the big screens outside to all the hockey games that were going on. And
oh man.
And
do you think are there any who would you say are promising researchers today? And it doesn't matter, Canadian, US.
People who are zoological and stick to the facts and never deviate from the facts. If
that's John Boy. And good old Adirondack wizard there.
Yeah. If they go off in the paranormal, they're just chasing their tail.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now, but for the tree octopus, I'd only be able to go with my man, Brent. He's the top in his class when it comes to that.
Yeah.
God love you, Brent. Yeah. I got a picture of you in my dining room. Yeah. Stole it off the internet. But no, Ad-Rock was John got the right idea, man. He's boots on the ground and he lets nothing get by him. It all gets filtered away and filed away. He's like a bloodhound with all these folds in his snout. There's room enough to stuff everything in there.
And Bill Reed's interesting because he's fascinated. He wants to find out, but he's an absolute skeptic, and he's part of our group because he's viable that way. So we always get the skeptic's point of view on everything.
Bill is an amazing guy, Bill Reed. He is. You got a mind like a steel trap. He can talk to you on any level you want to go. He's there for it, no problem. And like you're a walking encyclopedia, Thomas. Bill is. I don't know. He's a walking version of AI or something. He's got it all in his head, and it's a pity he couldn't have joined this conversation today.
Yeah.
But
Bukwas Crue is a great bunch of guys. They're all zoological. They all stick to the facts, never deviate the facts. And it's the reason why I associate with them.
And by the way, Bill Reed, I hope you're feeling better. And he couldn't join us tonight because he said,
Leon here because they were under the weather.
Yeah, Leon is.
And they just petered out by the time the show came.
Oh, they all chickened out almost the same minute. I was getting worried. I said, "Where's Thomas? Where's Thomas?"
To be fair, it's been raining solidly for a week here now, and it's going to continue for the next one.
Oh, definitely. But yeah, Leon got the sniffles, so he's out of the game for a while. He got his bowl of chicken soup and his scarf, and he's watching TV.
And Nicky, we're not spring chickens anymore. Hell, I'm 63.
I'm 72.
Yeah. We're all getting older. I used to be able to sleep on the ground at night and out in the woods and not even think a thing of it. Now it hurts.
I hear you. I am constantly.
It hurts just getting up off the ground.
Yeah, no more on the ground for me, unfortunately. I got 2 new tents, a little while ago. I haven't even popped them up yet, but I'm hoping. I wanted to go to Bluff Creek this coming summer, so we'll see if that pans out.
Did you interview any of the guys on the Bluff Creek group?
No, I haven't actually. I have not interviewed them.
Yeah.
It's always been on the bucket list, but
Try to,
you know, I'm not.
Don't try to find it yourself. You'll get lost.
Oh yeah, no. We're meeting with Tate Hieronymus and Jonathan Easley. Is going to be there. Glenn Rojas.
By the way, footnote: Tate Hieronymus, no relation to the Hieronymus of infamy.
No, no relation. Although we really think so. Anyway, no, it's spelled differently too. Any questions out there for the boys? Now's your time. Now's your chance to put out some questions if you have anything else.
I'd like to say into the chat there, hi to Jen and hi to Adarock. And hi to Brent and hi to Henry May. How you doing, man? And yeah, whoever else listening out there.
Let me see. Oh, there's my sister. Hello, sister. I haven't talked to you. He's been working. I've been working. We've been busy. Let me see. What was Bill's crown jewel of evidence or encounter?
Well, he believed he took a picture of a Sasquatch. The jury is probably still out on that one. It was taken from a good distance away, and it sure looked like it could be. But, you know, the jury is out on that one.
No.
Bill's major contribution was finding out and confirming that the Patterson Gimlin film was filmed at the Ford Motion Picture Lab at 306 Fairview Avenue, Seattle, Washington. For years and years, people were saying, we can't figure out where it was about. It was developed there. That's where it happened. Bill's the one that discovered that.
Let's see what we got.
Yeah, Bill had his finger in many pertinent things in the field that happened, even though his name doesn't get as mentioned in as many books as some others do. But Bill was right on the cusp there. He was right on the edge of things in Canada and the States. And he was a fountain of infinite knowledge. He's like Thomas, steel trap for a brain, forgets nothing. And yeah, he was the researcher's researcher.
But he didn't write anything down. That's
the one flaw.
The one flaw, yeah.
Just so you know, Thomas, Brent did go to the spot there in Seattle it's a coffee shop now.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to see if I can pull up that photo.
Yeah,
where are the photos? Are they on the tall page?
I think the Ford Motion Picture Lab finally shut its doors in 2010. The last Ford Motion Picture Lab in Rochester, New York, closed around 2012. There are no Ford Motion Picture Labs anymore.
Yeah, he's got them here. Hold on. I will share that. Oh, I'm already sharing all kinds of stuff. There we go. Oh, crap. Take that one up. That one up. Cool.
Oh, well, that looks like a different building than I remember. No, that doesn't look like the building unless they've torn the building down and replaced it with another one. Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
There's a question there in the chat. What was Bill's occupation? What was his occupation, Thomas, before he got involved in coming up here doing tours and everything?
Well, geez, I can't remember, but he was basically financially independent after he sued. After that truck accident, he sued and he won.
Okay, yeah.
And that helped a lot. So he basically, that's how he was free to go and do whatever he wanted to in the summertime. Yeah, that doesn't look like the building I'm thinking of. I may be close to it, but unless they tore the old building down and replaced it with something else, that doesn't look like it. Nope.
No.
Nope.
I see Sean is in the audience. Where the heck have you been, Sean?
North Seattle, Washington. Yeah. That's 3rd Avenue. No. 306 Fairview Avenue. That's the name of the street. Fairview Avenue. Yeah. If you Google it, you can zoom right in on it. The last time I did that, there was a big vacancy sign in the building. Yeah.
He said he went off the address on the newspaper clipping. Oh, the news. Oh, I already exited out.
Yeah.
Well, you'll have to go again. Sorry.
Yeah, that doesn't look like the building. Yeah. Tell Brent to Google Map 306 Fairview Avenue, North Seattle, Washington.
Let's see if I can do it real fast. 306 Fairview.
North Seattle, Washington.
And just by the way, while they're doing that, if you ever get a chance to watch the Unwanted Sasquatch documentary, watch it. It's the best I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm. And the clips you were showing of Bill were from the documentary Bigfoot Reflections, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah. But that Unwanted Sasquatch kept me on the edge of my chair for the whole show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was fun to do. That was a good group.
Well, I don't know. What did I just do? Oops. Hold on. Go there. It says 306 Fairview Avenue.
What's written on it? Train
Transform 180 training.
Okay. That could be it. It's been painted dark gray. It used to be like a light brown building. Yeah, that looks like it. They just painted it differently. The address was number 306. Yeah.
The newspaper clipping says 2301 3rd Avenue.
No. Newspaper clipping is wrong.
It's wrong, Brent. Yeah, I kind of briefly showed it up on the. Hold on. I'll get that too. What am I trying to do now?
It won't do you any good, but the old phone number was 206-682-2510.
Brent just sent the picture of the receipt or the newspaper clipping. Sorry. Hold on, it's coming up right now. It's thinking. Do I have too much stuff up? Come on. Do it. You can do it.
Answer Mr. PG's question. Yes, Bill was on a couple of documentaries back in the day. Yeah. Well, back in the day for Bill is the early 90s. Yeah.
Oh, anyway, there's the clipping. Technicolor Corporation. $1968. Did you write that on the?
That's the one that says it's maybe they changed buildings.
Yeah, that one definitely says 2301. Mm-hmm. Controversy still exists.
I want to shout it out to Sean there. Where have you been?
The actual name, the name of the lab at the time was the Ford Motion Picture Lab. Not Technicolor Corporation. It was the Ford Motion Picture Lab.
Where'd you get this one from, Brett? Do you want me to send you a link? Explain yourself. You need to explain yourself.
Eliminate the middleman.
Oops.
You saw Bill Miller's name and came out of hiding, Sean. That's what it took.
I don't know. We only have about 10 minutes left anyway. No worries. I'll check it out. He'll check the other address out too. He'll look into it some more.
Go in and say, was this the Ford Motion Picture Lab back in the day?
Huh. I doubt they'll know. It's probably changed hands 100 times already.
Well,
you know,
2010 isn't that long ago. That's apparently when they closed down.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's not too far back. Not too far back.
Nobody wants Kodachrome 2 film anymore, so
yeah,
Kodak shut them all down. The last one was in Rochester, New York, and it closed a couple of years later.
You missed it already, Sean. We talked about that at the very beginning of the show. See, you were late. Don't be late, and you won't miss the good stuff.
Yeah, that's known as the Mark Corton sighting there, Sasquatch about. The Mark Corton sighting happened in September of 2000.
I told Thomas to pull his file before he came on.
A lot of this stuff too is available in the Thomas's Chronicles on the Sasquatch Crue site. They're all there to listen to and view. So
yes, when Corton, to answer that last question, Corton said it was rotating towards him, which is exactly what would happen if you threw it underhand. Yeah, just like you threw a football laterally to somebody underhand, it rotates towards you. It's spinning your direction. Yeah, and that's what the rock was doing, according to Corton.
Yeah, and all that was on on the video, on the I just showed you the clips. It came from Henry. You told me what the name of the documentary was. What reflection? Wait.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think Animal X did a little bit up there too, which was rather annoying because they didn't ask us to participate.
Well, it makes sense that a rock will be hurled in that manner anyway. When you look at the physiology of a primate, overhand is not very likely. They're going to throw something overhand. Yeah. They'll throw it underhand and give it a flick like you're going for a fastball or something.
And the witness, Mr. Corton, he never saw it actually throw it. First thing he saw was the rock coming through the air.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we got somebody.
Through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go.
It's the tree octopus king.
Hey, what's up?
Hey,
Yeah.
Brett.
Hey.
How's it going? Yeah, it's good to see you guys on here.
Nice to actually.
It was an error. It was an error. But, we decided to stay.
Yeah, no, it was good. It was good. I caught the last part of it. It's always great to have you guys on, man. I look at you guys as like, the legends in the group or in the subject, the ones that people could, trust. It's like you guys were talking about, it's hard to find a good trusted source in the subject, and that's very true. And so, luckily we have you guys there to kind of help hold up that mantle, for all us young guys coming in, so we can kind of learn what's going on, get, a good sense of the reality of the subject and not just the entertainment aspect. But back to that clipping, I got that from the coalition because it was in a discussion that was about that. And I'm pretty sure that that's where I got that from. I'm like almost certain. So I don't know if it's just, I don't know what it is, if it's, if they moved or if that clipping isn't even associated with it, and I'm just misremembering something as far as, what that is. But I always assumed that that's what it was. And so I just went down there to a coffee shop now. I went in and talked to the lady. It's just a barista lady, like some kid or something who doesn't really know anything. And gave me the info to the owner, and I reached out to him and just haven't heard anything back yet. I didn't put Bigfoot in there either. I'm like, hey, I'm doing some historical stuff. So I approached her. I'm like, yeah, I'm doing like historical photos of before and afters, Don't want to like blow my cover.
If you get a chance, Brett, check out 306 Fairview Avenue, North Seattle, Washington, because that's what I wrote down for the location of the Forward Motion Picture Lab. And that's what Bill was in when he talked to the old guy who was still working there and said, yeah, we developed that film. How we showed it right on the wall. Yeah,
I thought that place seemed kind of small. That one that I went to, it seemed like it was kind of small. I'm like, man, this seems like, should it open up into that bigger building back there, which is like a church now or something?
The building is what I would call it. It's not a multi-floor building. It's just one level, but it's just a square box company building. And the last time I saw a picture of it, there was a vacancy sign in the window for rent or whatever. And as far as I know, the lab actually closed its doors in 2010. So. Oh wow!
Yeah, see, that looked like it was a.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that building looked like it's been converted from like a auto parts store or a shop or something like that. It just didn't really seem like it. Was like, man, this is really small. So I don't know. Maybe I don't know what that clipping's from then. But I think the other address is probably a lot more viable. It's probably bigger.
But double check, because I'd like to find out for sure.
Yeah, well, I got to head back to Seattle this week to pick up my camera from being repaired. So it's the perfect opportunity to stop down and check out all those other areas. I'll even go into the business if it's still there, or if they're open, and kind of talk to them about it. See if they got any history.
Do you want the address again? Do you write it down?
Yeah, it's 306 North Fairview.
306 Fairview Avenue, North Seattle. That's what I have written down.
Yeah, I got it in my GPS because I checked it out when you brought up the address. I'm like, that's a little different. But yeah, I mean, it's just probably one of those things that I don't know, but it does make sense. That it's probably the other building, because that one there just seemed really small. It's really, really small.
One thing I was never able to answer and never find out, because Al Diatley, you never met a more arrogant guy in your life when he was alive. I wanted to know, did you receive the film by the plane in Yakima, and did you drive it to Seattle, or did you meet the plane in Seattle and drive it to there to get it? I could never find an answer to that one. We still don't know, because the man was frustrating as hell. I met him once, and I didn't like him. He was an arrogant guy, and he just didn't answer the question. You know what I mean? And I said, I had it development. He couldn't even remember the name of the lab or anything like that. But the only reason we found out about it is Bill went in there looking for film, different type of film for a different project, and somehow what subject came up, and the guy said, yeah, I remember we developed that here. We showed it right on the wall, right there. First time. Yeah.
Yeah, because I was thinking, it's like, man, that's got to be one small wall. It's like,
Yeah.
there wasn't much room in there.
Well, they did do the Kodachrome 2 process there, you know, but you never know. They might have rushed it because it was done in one day, you know.
Yeah.
And if they did it in one day, the film would be good quality for a little while, but then it would start to deteriorate, you know. And like I said, in the late 60s, people put money under the table to have other kinds of movies developed because, you know, and they doing stuff under the table was common practice. So that's what they did for Al Diablo because he had influence and he had money.
Yeah. Not bad. Is that a map coordinates?
Yeah.
Nikki?
It's not far away. It's very close. 6 minutes
Yeah.
away from where you were.
Actually, that's funny because my camera place that I'm at, it's Glazer's Camera, which is like literally almost right there in the middle. I should probably ask them, huh? They might know.
Yeah.
They're
probably
pretty.
know.
Yeah. But after Ford closed down, the building was vacant for a little while because I remember looking at a Google photograph of it because I looked it up when it was a building, and it was a light brown color brick building, and it had for rent signs in the doors. You know, the building was empty and it was available for rent, contact, whatever. You know.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to head down there this week and check it out. I'll take some more pictures, stop in and talk to them. And when I actually go pick up my camera, I'm going to actually sit there, ask them if they have any sort of historical knowledge of some of the local places around here that might have was able to develop that Kodachrome or, something related. Because they might know.
Mm-hmm.
Because, that's a good piece of history. I wouldn't mind walking in there and they're like, oh yeah, we know what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm. Well, the guy was a very old man back in 2000 or 2001 when he was there, and he was still there, and he was going to retire soon. And I guess he was a young man there in '67, and he'd been working there all that time, and he was still there when Miller was there. So.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that the place I went to is not the place then because I remember the barista lady telling me that the place was once a hair studio that they put in there, and that was in there for many years. And so it doesn't seem like it matches up. So I'm not sure where that newspaper clipping is from. I'll have to probably go recheck out. And I don't know. Is that the building right there?
That kind of looks like it.
Yeah.
Looks like they got ample parking. That's great. There's like zero parking down there. Got to walk like 5 miles just to get to your destination. Hope nobody
Actually, I think that's it right there. Is that the other side of the street?
Yeah, this is the other side. I can't tell. Is that on top of the building or is that on the back side? I can't tell.
There's an apartment building beyond it. Yeah.
Transform 180.
Yeah.
Training, huh?
Jim is taking it over, man, by the look of it. Yeah.
Oh, wait. Here's a front. There you go.
Well, I will go take a tour. Pretend I'm getting a gym membership.
Yeah. And they've painted it because it used to be the same color as that brick you see on the apartment building behind it. It used to be almost the same color, and now they painted it dark gray.
Yeah, we'll get it all figured out. Maybe gets I don't know, learn something from it or not. I don't know. Maybe somebody's still in the area, or maybe.
I hope we don't start an annoying trend for the gym owners. I think they got new members coming in, and people start asking, "Was there a Ford motion picture lab?"
By any chance, see a big picture of Bigfoot on the wall there when you're remodeling or anything? That'd be great. Like, oh yeah, man, sure. But it's good. It's actually as recent as 2010 because that gives a lot more options versus what I was originally dealing with. What it looked like it was there's so many owners since the 1967 date that it was, who knows with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, the other place definitely looks more promising. The
But
other one's
Fort
way
Motion
small.
Picture Lab carried on and was all the way there until about 2010.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. So I think I could probably still probably find some information on it and stuff. So it's good stuff. I'm hoping to head up north this year. Well, I'm going to definitely, and so we can head up and do some Bigfoot in there. You can go camping, hang out.
You didn't show up.
What's that?
I was expecting you last year and you didn't show up.
Oh yeah. Well, I was there last year. I made the trip.
Come back.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, I know. Life kind of got complicated, but it's clearing up this year, so I think I'm gonna have a really good run. It's a lot of free time, and because I'm like you guys were talking about earlier, I just really want to see one. I don't really care about proving it or anything. I like to share my journey that's with people, so I do the videography and stuff, and just hope for the best. And if I don't get anything, then
poor Nick, after being scared by Brad on the old Face Slap Road, I took her out at night to a place and we saw signs, bear problem.
Yeah.
Problem bearing area. Ooh boy.
Yeah. As long as you're the fastest one, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
No, but hopefully, Nikki,
Truck.
hopefully you're able to make the Bluff Creek thing this year. That'd be great.
Yeah.
That'd
Did
be
you ever
fun.
meet Bill, Brett?
I did not have the opportunity. No, I was just a fresh little newbie in the subject at that time, and didn't really know much of anybody. I think I met you for the first time a few years ago.
Yeah. Bill wasn't. Well, he was a latecomer to it. I mean, he really didn't start after his incident in 1980. He really didn't start investigating until the 90s. That's when he started coming up here on a regular basis. And I first met him, I don't know, shit, was it 2000? I can't remember. And,
I don't recall ever seeing Bill at any of the gatherings, any of the conferences or get-togethers. I don't ever remember seeing him in the background. Was he active in any of those?
At times, it all depends. I know he was down at the Yakima thing in 2011, and he was up here during the John Green tribute we had here.
Yeah.
And he was here for all of that. All the ones up here in BC, he was at. Yeah. He missed a lot of the ones in the East because he was here, not in Illinois. He only went home in the wintertime, and he didn't want to go. I
never heard him, associated with any of the conferences back east either. So
no. Bill kept a low profile a lot. He was not really. It was not. He usually heard about him when he got on somebody's nerves.
Well, I mean, he wasn't the type to appear at these conferences and give speeches and everything like that, like a lot of other people.
Yeah.
He was very private in that regard.
During the John Green tribute, I did a slide presentation, and Bill was the one doing the computer work for me there. He's sitting there, and he kept messing up the buttons, and I said, "No, press up."
Oh.
Good.
No, yeah, he sounds like a good guy. We need more people like that, in the subject, more people like you guys, and, especially for us to learn off of. And so it's great that Nikki's having the show.
He was so that it eventually killed him.
Yeah.
Because he wouldn't stop. He wouldn't stop to recover.
Yeah.
And he had so many problems to deal with physically, and he ignored the doctor's advice and come up here because he just wanted to come up here so badly.
That's a passion.
Yeah, and he refused to let it slow him down, and it slowed him down greatly. I mean, when I picked him up that last time in the airport, it took him like almost 20 minutes just to get into my truck. I mean, I said, "What are you doing here? You should be at home, in the hospital, whatever, recovering." Yeah.
It was getting so that even his customers remarked on it.
Yeah. Here he is unloading that carrier to take a tour out. He can barely walk.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really afraid that we've come to the point in this whole Bigfoot era that we're not going to have people like you, Thomas, who are dedicated to documenting, archiving, collecting all this evidence, investigations, photos, all of that. And it's going to be lost at some point, that type of investigation. Because now all you find are video documentation, people going out on their little expeditions, but they're not documenting anything, like files of the information, the reports. It's all video now. Everything is a file, is a digital file.
Or too many people who aren't really interested in solving the mystery. They just want to be known as the next Mulder and Scully. They want to go around and get their clicks and make their Facebook pages or their YouTube pages pay and things like that, and that's not the way to go about it. The inmates have taken over the asylum for most cases. There are good researchers out there, but there are a lot more bad ones.
Yeah.
And
if you call them researchers.
Researcher is a generous term. What they really are is like religious fanatics trying to push a faith. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing with this subject is there is no real viable information or data that we can go off. So it allows people to come in and create their own narrative, their own little special place, like Matt Johnson, for instance. And they can really go on challenge because, it's really hard to, unless they're outright hoaxing, it's really hard to, counter what these people are saying because it's like, well, they're saying Bigfoot does this and this and this. And it's like, well, you can't prove it, but we can't dismiss you
that's right. Because I can't say you didn't see a Sasquatch if you just said I saw one. I can't say, no, you didn't. Unless I was there with you, you saw a stump, you saw a pareidolia, you saw whatever. But I mean, you're exactly right. What can you do? I'm not the truth police. Yeah. I'm not going to run around arresting you because you can't prove it to my satisfaction.
Yeah,
in the end, we just got to prove it for ourselves in the end, and that's it.
To answer your Ninja 1985 question, I know Todd Prescott. He's probably the best archivist we got now. I do plan on sending him quite a few computer sticks with a lot of my stuff on it and in the weeks and months to come. So yes, I do willing to work with Todd Prescott in preserving things because I know I'm not going to be around forever.
What about the stuff with Rene Dahinden? Because I know that the museum and I think Todd Prescott himself and I think you too, Thomas, were trying to get all the Rene Dahinden's just everything that he collected and getting it archived or whatever. Just that whole thing. Have you guys had any progress with that or?
No, because Rene's son is doesn't seem to be very much interested in doing anything with it. Yeah, his files and stuff. A lot of it ended up in the hands of Larry Lund. He got a great back, and he's a good holder, collector of data and stuff like that.
Well, he's been hooking Todd Prescott up with stuff too. Because Todd Prescott is now becoming the archivist of the Sasquatch topic. So that's good. At least something got to Todd.
Yeah, and if Todd wants to come over here and start photographing stuff, no problem. He did the same thing. He's talked to me in the past about doing what he did with the late John Green and his archives, come and photograph and put everything on whatever he does.
Be a full-time job.
Yeah.
To photos of
all my stuff in there too, but he could do it. Yeah.
Todd has one of the most precious jobs in the Sasquatch community or anything to do with the Sasquatch community. His work is so important it's not even funny.
That's true.
Respect that guy deserves, and he's got my respect, and I wish him every success with it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, you guys talking about, we needed some of the good people out there, and Todd's one of those people, and we all, people have their different skill sets and stuff, and it's just important that they collaborate together just to accomplish certain goals. And like
Jerry's a lot younger than us, so he's going to be around a lot longer. So
Henry May, you need to start writing everything down, all your knowledge.
Yeah, man, that
it's a good thing. Bro? It's a good thing that Bill is home.
Yeah,
Bill Reed is home with a migraine tonight, because if he was here, boy, that's when it will all go off the rails here. You get him on the subject of Thomas's files and everything else, and that's a deep passion with him to talk this guy into buying some laminated stuff or something and start putting those letters and everything in between the sheets of plastic and finding a place to represent all of them should anything happen to Thomas. He's a very big proponent of, as we all are, of the Thomas Steenburg Museum.
Nikki, the boys of the Bukwas Crew, the Sasquatch Crew, now have been plotting my death and what they're going to do after quite some time.
That's why I was all a tingle. I even said to her, "Is Thomas coming tonight?" And she said, "Yes." I said, "Oh, damn." Okay.
I got dibs on the little white truck.
Yeah.
Hey, if you come into funding, you can hire me. I'll go over there. I'll take pictures. I'll do it all. Just I need the funding though. To do all that. That is a major job. But I'll do.
You saw the files, Nikki. There's quite a few of them. So yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's more than a full-time job right there for months. So but yeah, it's definitely gonna be a process to do that. But thank you, gentlemen, for being here. We're gonna go ahead. We've been on a couple of hours now, and unless there's anything else you'd like to talk about.
Can I ask one more question by Rio Bird?
Yes. Any recent sightings in your area? I live a couple of hours away and curious.
This is another thing that's got me wondering about the whole thing at times. 2004 was the first full year to go by without a single incident coming to my attention. One finally did, and we were 3 weeks into 2005 when I heard about it. Yeah. Or 2025, excuse me. 2024 was the first year to go by where I didn't hear about a single incident that happened in 2024. People were telling me about things they saw 15 years ago.
Oh, yeah, there's always those.
Not one, at least in this area of British Columbia.
We hadn't had anything really hot since back in 2009 with that Ruby Creek one we were talking about. And 2 weeks earlier or later, Mount Archibald.
That was a good year, that one was.
It was. I mean, they were coming out of yin yang, these critters.
Yeah. 2012, we had the encounter down there in DeRoche with where the lady came out and it was in the trees by the tire swing, and we had
Vera,
who was driving to the airport early in the morning near Lake Iraq, who saw it walking through a neighbor's yard as he was driving to the airport. And there is the odd incident, but they don't happen to the extent that they used to, or at least I'm not hearing about them. And that makes me wonder about the people saying, I had 15 reports in the last 2 weeks. And that, it makes me wonder about the quality and who, and or whether or not they're just making things up to make their YouTube page or YouTube pages pay. Yeah.
There are people.
Yeah, that's the thing is, that's the thing is you got to worry about that is like, the people manufacturing stuff because they don't have anything. And I think that's one of the real threats facing this subject is, some of these people that we do trust or should trust, or end up going to the dark side because, they're so sick of not ever producing anything or being considered as someone who has evidence or something like that. So,
well, I just want to remind everybody to tune in to a upcoming show Jerry and I are going to do on the Sasquatch Crew, and we're going to discuss why, at least in my opinion, the next 5 years are vital. I think, Brent, you know what I'm talking about because I've discussed it with you. I may have discussed it with you too, Nicky. It involves wildlife tunnels and cameras.
Well, Thomas has said it a dozen times, and I just thought, yeah, well, probably, yeah.
Mhm.
And then I heard him say it one night a couple of weeks ago, and I thought, hey, there might be really something to this.
Mhm.
So I've been doing research with the Department of Transport down in Washington State and such to shine a little light on how these tunnels are built, how they're maintained, what animals use them, and stuff like that. That's really interesting. It's really interesting.
See, in Canada, in the
They
national
even
park,
have overpasses too.
yeah,
Yep.
well, in
Yep.
Canada, we've had them since the mid-90s. And the Coquihalla Highway has had them since '86, the tunnels. But they are not monitored constantly by cameras or anything like that. These new ones in Washington and Oregon apparently are. That's why.
And those overpasses aren't just built and left alone. They take stock of the animals that use those overpasses. And if they got some animals on this side of the street, but no animals on that side of the street, they're wondering why those animals aren't using the overpasses.
Matter of fact,
And what they do, they go and they get herbs and plants and the natural feed that these critters use. And they spread them out along the bridge. And then they get these species using the overpass, following the food line. So it's quite a bit of thought gone into it. I found it really interesting.
Mm-hmm. And in Canada, Banff National Park, when they first built them, after a few years of study, they realized grizzly bears born when they were construction wouldn't go near them. But bears born and weaned after their construction have no problem with them.
Yeah. It's a complex thing, and I mean it'll tie right in with this whole research stuff for Sasquatch, because I refuse to be of the opinion that the Sasquatch is impervious to us. If it's there, if it exists, it'll be brought to bear, within the near future. And if it isn't, well.
What do you think about them being so rare now, to the point that, because of modern innovation of, inhabiting the rest of the United States here, do you think it might cause a massive decrease in their population, to the point that we're probably only looking at like a few left now? Like, I would probably put the number like 20, if possible, 20 in the state of Washington alone, because look at the Wolverines. There's only less than 300 in the lower 48 here, and Washington being one of the big areas that have them. And so I always kind of wonder, it's like, have we decreased the population to a point that we're looking at massive extinction?
Well, one of the things that's got me thinking along these lines, Brett, is everyone's always saying, does it exist or doesn't? What people don't mention is, did they exist, and maybe they're on the verge of soon not existing? Like maybe they were dying out. Maybe the 50s, 60s, and 70s were their last hurrah.
Exactly.
That we started building and we started having encounters. I mean, if it is a primate, a higher primate, it may have been devastated by diseases like many of our First Nation tribes were, and things like that. I mean, remember, Jane Goodall had a troop of over 150 chimpanzees, almost got wiped out by a polio outbreak at one point. And
that's what wiped out most of the Native Americans was our germs, and able to adapt to them and stuff. So
well, folks, I gotta go get some dinner.
I
gotta go.
So I was going to show you a picture of, but I couldn't find it. Oh, there it is. Okay, this is the photo I was trying to get, so I could show everybody what you guys are talking about in reference to the tunnels. Here we go. It kind of look like that. This was one being built.
Tunnel overpass for the nature. They're building a whole bunch of those in Washington, Oregon. We've had them in Canada since the 90s, but unlike Canada, the American ones apparently are going to be monitored 24/7, 365 days with cameras. And if between now and 2030 goes along and they get video evidence of every large animal we know is there, and they don't get a Sasquatch, you really got to wonder why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it does make you wonder about their numbers, you know, with credible reports and stuff. Because everybody and their grandma is going out there saying they saw Bigfoot in all lower 49 states there, or 48 states.
But one of the things you were saying, Brent, about passing in the East and stuff like that, I think a lot of it, even though we don't like to admit it, is people's imaginations and storytelling. Yeah.
No, yeah, absolutely. You know, you get Bigfoot on the brain.
Yeah.
And again, this is a community, or, you know, people thrive and want to be parts of communities. And it's very easy to become part of this community with very little to bring to the table as far as evidence. Or all you do is go say, hey, I saw Bigfoot. And, you know, there you go.
Celebrity. Yeah.
Exactly. And, you know, it's just, I get it. And I think a lot of everybody gets it now that we're at the point of it's kind of dwindling down. If there's nothing really viable within the next 5-10 years, it really does. Maybe we're at the point of extinction because I don't know, but the forest is vast out there. Like up here in the North Cascades, I mean, there's literally nobody out there investigating it. Mm-hmm. It's just people out there just, or, you know, it's just on, you know, it's just really hard to get to places that nobody really ever goes, like for decades.
Well,
like,
yeah, but even if that's true, you think there'd still be some sign. I mean,
True.
One of our regular viewers, Kelsey, sent me this interesting article about a dig in Canada that's over 7,000 years old that they found artifacts in. And that got me thinking, come on, there's digs all over the world. And no one's ever dug up a Sasquatch bone, especially with native Indian digs. And now native Indians, they use everything in nature. They use the bone, they use the hide, they use the meat, they use everything. You think digging up an Indian village from 5,000 years ago, you wouldn't also dig up a Sasquatch bone or something made out of Sasquatch fur or what have you? It really doesn't make any sense to me, but like there's no trace of them. They're ghost creatures.
well, yeah, especially with fossils here in the United States, because there's a podcast on Joe Rogan. His name is Dan Flores, and he's a historian for the Americas and stuff. But he really talks about you know, the animals that lived here before, how it was called the American Serengeti because of the animals that lived here. I mean, we had lions, we had tigers, we had you know, horses first evolved here, and then they all left and stuff. And it's really interesting how he's able to talk about literally the timeline through the fossils and the animals that they found. But again, there's no Bigfoot or no unusual bones in there, which is, again, it's like a red flag. It really is.
Yeah.
That's why when it comes to bones, maybe we ought to go to the Smithsonian and
Smithsonian.
So how come every other critter fits into the scheme of things? How come every other critter fits into the scheme of things, but this one just doesn't?
And why don't we go to the Smithsonian and other museums who have much more in their archives than they have on display and say, show us you're dead? Because it wouldn't surprise me, and you've all heard me say this before, if the skeletal remains of a Sasquatch are laid out on the table for the world to see, they ain't going to be found by a researcher in the bush like me. It's going to be some anthropology student that came across in some.
Of course it is.
Somewhere. Yeah. Because they got stuff, they don't even know what they have.
I just watched a YouTube, or it was a short video or something of a skull that they found in China, and it's a massive skull, and they can't really figure out who it belongs to. They know it's a hominin of some sorts, but they can't figure it out. They think it's the Denosovin, I think it is. Yeah, but they haven't found any other bones. And the guy was like, "Hey, yeah, if we find like this 20 or some, you know, other bones of it that you know, could lead to something special, I guess. I don't know, but there's something there. I don't know how old that was, but it seemed like a legit video.
The history of this planet has got so many surprises yet to be discovered. It's not funny.
Did you see what they found underneath the Great Pyramids? Like it goes 6,500 feet down underneath the pyramids. It's like, wow, that seems like that's not a burial chamber for a person. You know, that whole pyramid thing. It sure seems like there's something else going on. Is it a battery or what? I mean, I don't know. I think Egyptians were the first one to create and invent batteries. Maybe.
I don't know, but it's really
I think
weird.
I'm just going to throw my hands up in the air and get out of this altogether and just spend my time sitting down to see what happens at Skinwalker Ranch. That's, that's it for the rest. That's my retirement. I'm just going to sit down and watch Skinwalker Ranch and see what devilish things they come up with. They're always right on the verge of solving the mystery, but that was 5 seasons ago.
It's not profitable to solve the mystery. It's more profitable to keep the mystery going. That's why what is that one whole piece, the one with the curse of that gold, that TV show has been on for like 12 years.
Yeah.
Oh, Oak Island. Yeah. It's like, man, it's like, shit, I'd dig that whole island up if by that time, shoot. But it makes good TV.
Yeah.
You guys for coming on. Thanks, Thomas and Jerry, for coming on and talking about Bill and enlightening us about
Our pleasure.
it was a fun discussion. Thanks, Brent, for coming on and clarifying whatever.
Everybody hit that like and subscribe button too. Yeah, I'll check out that other address too, and kind of mosey my way on there and be like, hey, I'm looking for a membership. Let me walk the whole facility.
It's
Actually, was this where Ford Motion Picture Lab was?
I'd probably see if the owner's there, be like, hey, dude, what's up? Give me some history.
maybe they know who has had the building, the succession or where to go, unless you have to go to the city.
Yeah, I mean, I'll go in there and ask them, get the owner's info. Maybe they know.
All right, everybody. Thank you for coming. Be sure to hit that like button before you leave and share it around. I tried to text you, Brent, to advertise for me, but you never.
Oh, yeah. I was indisposed today and last night. I still have to write Sean back, too. Man, such a dick sometimes.
Okay, God love you all. I'm out of here.
Come on.
Alrighty.
All right, you guys. Thank you again. Have a good night, guys.